Hello, this is Matt from FlexSim. Welcome to the FlexSim Healthcare tutorial on creating a custom animation. So for this tutorial, we're going to create an animation where a patient runs on a treadmill. So if we take a look at what this model looks like, we can run the model. He walks over to the treadmill and begins running. So first thing we're going to do is create a new model. And we're going to just pull out a few items here. We're going to have an arrival, patient processor, and an exit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to customize this processor. So we double click on that. First thing I'm going to do is set the shape to none. We're going to change this to treadmill, and the area we're going to call it the treadmill area. Now to change the 3D model, the 3D shape of this object, we're going to go to the Visuals tab, to Object Display, and we're going to change the 3D shape. Now I previously went online and I found a Google SketchUp file of a treadmill to use in my animation, in my processor. Google SketchUp is great because the models are free and they have quite a few of them online. So we now have our treadmill. Next we're going to go to our flow charting. We're going to set up our flow from our patient arrival to our treadmill area and then to our patient exit area. Close that, and now we need to make our patient track. I'm going to call this track run. My patients that are going to go running. I'm going to give it 3 activities. First one will be arrival. Patient will travel unattended to the treadmill area. I will then add another one for running. And this will be a process at the treadmill area. And the process time, we'll just give it a value of 10. Add one more that's going to be a patient traveling unattended to the patient exit area, and this will be a departure. We'll go ahead and apply that. So if we take a look at this and we reset and run our model, the patient walks over to the treadmill and then he just stands at the treadmill because he hasn't been given any information about how to deal with a treadmill object or a treadmill processor. So we need to give him a custom animation. Animations for patients are found under the track name and visuals. Under here there is an animation where we can hit edit and we can see all the various animations that this patient can do. In this case we see that they're standing, walking, laying down. We want to make one called running. Now for the purposes of this tutorial, we're not going to go through and actually modify the way that the animation looks. We'll save that for another tutorial. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the walking animation, which looks fairly similar to a running, and we're going to copy that. Now there is no copy button here, so we're going to have to manually copy this. The first thing we want to do is create add, and it's going to add an animation called animation 14. We're going to close the animation editor, and then we're going to go to view, model tree view. Now this is where we can see all the properties of our model. We open up the tools property, we go to patient bin. This shows us all the patient tracks. We look at the run track, and then we open all of the properties for our run track. There's one here called visual, and then animation info and animations. So we see here there's one called walking and one called animation 14. So we're going to copy the walking by clicking on walking, hit Control C, then click on animation 14 and click Control V. And we see that it now copied all the parameters for the walking animation into animation 14. We're now going to change that to say running, and then we'll click away so that saves. We'll close the tree edit window. We'll go back to our track manager and we'll edit the animation. So if we open up our animation, we can see that we now have one called running. Now as is, it looks the same as walking, but the reason why we needed to copy it was because the walking time basis animation is for travel distance, meaning as the patient travels, the animation moves. So this would be meters. So this is 0 meters, 1 meter, 2 meters. In this case we need to make it time-based because we need him to go faster than that. Not to mention he's not traveling any distance. So we're going to set that to time-based. We're going to leave it on as repeat indefinitely. and we're going to leave it as is. So we'll go ahead and we'll close out of this. We will hit OK. And now what we have to do is we have to tell the patient to begin running or begin that animation when he gets to the processor. So double click on your treadmill and go to Visuals. Go to Triggers, and we're going to go to the entry trigger and we're going to edit underlying code. Now the first one we're going to add is one called Start Animation. The animation we want to start is for the patient. The animation is running. And the speed type, we're going to say speed type multiplier. We need to make the animation faster than what it currently is, because having the animation go once every 2 minutes is not going to be fast enough. So we're going to now set this to speed value, the multiplier, to 100 times faster. Our repeat type, we're just going to say repeat type default, which will just repeat indefinitely, and a repeat value of 0. So we'll go ahead and hit OK, and we'll hit apply, and then we will go ahead and reset and run our model. We see our patient walk over to the treadmill and he begins his animation. Well, we can see there's some problems. First off, he's not moving all that fast, and second, he's walking through the middle of the treadmill. So we're going to need to set his location to be a different location based on our model. So we'll stop the model, go back into the entry trigger, and we're going to set this to 250 times multiplier, and then we're going to add another one that calls set location, or set the location of patient. And this is a little bit of trial and error just to try and find out exactly where it needs to be. The numbers here are in reference to the processor, so I'm going to say that it's 1, negative 0.2, and 0.3, and I found those values out just from trial and error. So we'll hit OK, we'll hit apply again, and we'll reset and run. So our patient walks over, and he gets on the treadmill and he begins running. And we can see it looks like he's in the right spot. He's running on top of the treadmill, and the speed looks pretty good. Now the problem is right now that we haven't set up the animation to stop. So the animation is going to continue going until we tell it to stop, because it repeats indefinitely. So if we go to the exit trigger and we edit the underlying code, we can now say stop animation of the patient running. And if we hit OK and we hit apply, then if we were to speed this time up, or instead of speeding the time up, we will just step to the next thing. We see that he stops running, begins walking, and walks to the exit. So that is how you make a custom animation. Now, if you want to use that same animation for multiple patients, as you might have multiple patients that need to run on a treadmill, you can load and save animations through the track manager under the animations, where you can load and save. So this concludes our tutorial on doing animations. Please check back soon, and we'll have another tutorial on how to add in a custom animation where we'll build it from multiple 3D models and show you how to manipulate those and set keyframes.